Well, hi everybody, and here we are nearing the end of this book, wonderful book, which Mary Bailey considered her Bible, so to speak, The Rays and the Initiations, and we're on program 106 of the video commentaries. Remember that the rules themselves are interpreted in written form, and you can find them on Makara. So these are stanzas for disciples, and they are found in various places in Discipleship in the New Age, Volume 1, and they're found through esoteric uh, psychology in I think in both volumes. They are not easy to interpret, and I just suggest certain thoughts which may be of value to you and to me if I think about it, you know. Um, so I will suggest these thoughts. Excuse me. And if you want to go further in your interpretation of these stanzas, you can do that. You know, it's my opinion that we should read everything that Master DK has written thus far. And of course, Alice Bailey has also written some books. I think there are some of those of her books that I have not completed, but I've been referencing in them. And of course, she had a very fine mind, and she knew how to interpret these things so that they would be useful to others. But you can really, you know, tell the difference when Alice Bailey is writing and when the Tibetan's writing. There is a difference in ray, a difference in approach. You just feel the quality. So I will say a few things as we go along and see if there's anything of value that emerges. This first one is called The Path. Seek not, O twice blessed one, to attain the spiritual essence before the mind absorbs. Not thus is wisdom sought. Only he who has the mind in leash and sees the world as in a mirror can be safely trusted with the inner sense. Only he who knows the five senses to be but illusion, and that naught remains save the two ahead, can be admitted into the secret of the cruciform transposed. The path is trodden by the server, that is trodden by the server is the path of fire that passes through the heart and leads to the head. It is not on the path of pleasure nor on the path of pain that liberation may be taken or that wisdom comes. It is by the transcendence of the two, by the blending of pain, and get that straight, with pleasure, that the goal is reached. That goal which lies ahead like a point of light seen in the darkness of a winter's night. That point of light may call to mind a tiny candle in some attic drear, but as the path that leads to that light is trodden, through the blending of the pairs of opposites, that pinpoint cold and flickering grows with steady radiance till the warm light of some blazing lamp comes to the mind of the wanderer by the way. Pass on, O pilgrim. With steady perseverance, no candlelight is there, nor earth lamp fed with oil. Ever the radiance grows till the path ends within a blaze of glory, and the wanderer through the night becomes the child of the sun and enters within the portals of that radiant orb. You know, sometimes I think it's so inspiring even if we don't know what it all means. Um, just the words themselves seem to uplift. Excuse me. Why is the disciple twice blessed? Well, let's see, he has been individualized and initiated, at least as a first degree initiate. The spiritual essence, of course, is not just the soul. It is the as well the monad, and you know, the disciple is in a way the extension of the monad, and as that extension, he is the blessed one, and so a blessing will come from above. There are two deaths, and maybe here two blessings. He has entered the fourth kingdom of nature, and he's that in itself was a blessing out of the animal kingdom, and he's entered the fifth kingdom of nature. But another way of looking at this is having passed the second initiation. So he's been blessed at each initiation. But the mind must be the bridge to the higher faculties. Otherwise, we have a very erratic situation where sometimes it happens that we can touch the heights, but unpredictably, and we want predictability in a scientific approach to the heights and to our beingness. The mind must absorb the ageless wisdom and not just simply rely upon the mystical approach. Okay, we are not simply relying upon the mystical, and wisdom is not sought in that erratic way. We, as the soul in incarnation, must have the mind in leash and control it, as the soul in incarnation must have the mind under control. This is, interestingly enough, done in relation to Mercury and to the sign Scorpio, where the mind is powerful in two ways. And only he who has the mind in leash and sees the world as in a mirror. Well, this is interesting because one is the world, and what one sees is really a reflection of himself. I often talk about the absolute deity seeing itself in the post-pralaic world and registering as a result absolute infinity, which is its true articulated nature. Now, we are talking about things that are farther down and actually in the externalized universe. But still, everything that is in the universe is really a reflection, a self-seeing of the universal logos, which is an extrusion of the one being. So why can it be that only he who sees the world in a mirror can be safely trusted with the inner sense? Because there is no alienation, and all things are seen as oneself. Alienation. Okay. Can be safely trusted with the inner sense. Only he who knows the five senses to be but illusion. Form is illusion, and these five, unless elevated, do not come close to revealing the truth of being from which they have arisen. So only he who knows the five senses to be but illusion, and that naught remain except the two ahead. And what are these? The common sense, number 6, and the esoteric sense bordering on the intuition, number 7, can be admitted into the secret of the cruciform, transposed. Now, I can't pretend to know what that is. It seems like the inverted cross. You know, it's interesting. Peter was crucified upside down at his own request. Well, let's just say the higher four are carried into matter and appear as the lower four. So how is it? How is it that the lower four appeared from the higher four, from the cosmic ethers? Well, there must be more to it, of course, but this is what comes to my mind immediately. Transposed. Now, another thing too, transposition can be upward. Upward. Transposition can be upward. And I've done it again, haven't I? I failed to start the chronometer, but okay. Transposition can be upward, and transposed into the cosmic ethers. So the fourfold personality, dense, etheric, astral, and mental, can be elevated into the higher ethers. And if they are, well, you know, we need, in other words, to understand the higher ethers, we must have the testimony of the two higher senses, the common sense and the esoteric sense. Not easy to interpret, but these are some thoughts. We must be trained. We must be trained in our approach to the essence, to wisdom. We must utilize the mind, which is in an illumined state. Okay, let's go on. The path that is trodden by the server is the path of fire that passes through his heart, through hierarchy, and leads to Shamballa, we might say, through hierarchy and leads to the head, Shamballa. Of course, in ourselves, these are the lower reflections. The heart and the head, heart and the head, are the lower reflections of hierarchy and Shamballa. And when the Kundalini is rising, these higher centers are more fully stimulated. They are there from the very beginning, especially the heart center, as we learn. Where do we learn that? On page 170 or so of the Alice Bailey books in a treatise on cosmic fire. I think so, or thereabouts. Yeah, and notice how the heart is found in almost from the very beginning, not in the pranic triangle of the strictly material man, but when we're dealing with the emotional man, the heart is there. The man controlled from the mental plane, the heart is there. Partially controlled by the ego, the heart is there. Spiritual man, the heart is there. And spiritual man to the fifth initiation, the heart is there. So there is a stimulation of the heart center from the very first, but not so much the head center. That comes later. Anyway, the reflection of Shamballa and hierarchy within us is awakened through the rising fire. And this path has to do with the awakening of our chakra system. This path has to do with the awakening of our chakra system. It does not awaken simultaneously, or let's just say all aspects of it. Let's see where we are here. It had quite a jump there. All aspects of the chakra system do not awaken simultaneously, and the fullness of the highest centers are last, awaken last. There has to be some representation, as we've seen, of the heart and probably of the head, but the full capacity of these centers awakens last. It is not on the path of pleasure, which keeps us attached to matter, not on the path of pleasure, keeping us attached to matter, nor on the path of pain. This reminds me of the story of the Buddha, you know, as he hears the musician instructing his student, don't turn the string too tight, don't turn it too loose. Maybe too tight is the pain and too loose is the pleasure. Nor on the path of pain, which again calls attention to the vehicles rather than to that which lies behind and within the vehicles. It's not on either of these extremes that liberation may be taken, that liberation in Aquarius and under Uranus, or that wisdom comes in the hall of wisdom and with the opening of the synthesis petals and so forth. In a way, Buddhi is wisdom, and once we make our way into the spiritual triad, a higher type of wisdom, not just based upon our experiences, may be ours. So it's on neither of these paths, and this is suggesting, in a way, the Noble Middle Path. Noble Middle Path is suggested as one possibility. It is by the transcendence of the two, of both pleasure and pain, by correcting one's identification. By the blending of pain with pleasure. DK talks about this state of ecstasy which can arise if pain is taken to its extreme. I found that kind of a really interesting statement in esoteric psychology too. And I wonder if I can find that. I'm not sure. You know, it's possibly a long search, and I don't really have time for that right now. And but we'll see whether anything arises. And no, it's not shown. And pain is shown here in a different way. Well, it does exist. He talks about taking any experience to its extreme and how a state of ecstasy may supervene. Okay. Where are we? Okay. It is about the transcendence of the two, transcendence of the pairs of opposites, identification with both as the one, the blending of pain with pleasure, and this is a fourth ray method, that the goal is reached and the goal that lies ahead, that goal that lies ahead, like a point of light seen in the darkness of a winter's night, you know, like a pinpoint of light on, let's say, a stellar pinpoint of light in the darkness. That point of light may call to mind the tiny candle in some attic, a dreary attic, but as the path that leads to that light is trodden through the blending of the pairs of opposites, which means the fusion. Whoops. Let's get that correct. The fusion of soul and personality, because the pairs of opposites in this, the pairs of opposites in this case happen to be the soul and personality, and they are vertical. So we have to blend into one these apparently different orders of being within us, the infusion of the personality by the soul and the elevation of the personality, as it were, into the soul sphere, that pinpoint cold and flickering, and flickering means it's unsteady and unreliable. Is it there? Is it not? Is it useful? Is it not? Will it abide as we approach it? That pinpoint cold and flickering grows with steady radiance till the warm light of some blazing lamp comes to the mind of the wanderer by the way. I would say on the way, but by the way. The soul warmth is appearing, but more is to be expected. Pass on, O pilgrim. Now, who's the pilgrim? This is the monad in extension that is making this pilgrimage, and it immerses itself in the lower kingdoms and immerses itself in the human kingdom and in the soul expression, in the triadal expression before returning to its own true nature on the monadic plane. Pass on, O pilgrim, with steady perseverance. That steady perseverance, interestingly, suggesting the second ray. It works with no let-up or leeway, we are told, not through charging forward or great bursts of energy which propel, but a steadiness of accomplishment. No candlelight is there, no earth lamp fed with oil, so no personality, no soul. Not just those, not just the personality or or soul. Ever the radiance grows till the path ends within a blaze of glory. And this would be a stellar blaze of glory on the way of higher evolution. And the wanderer through the night of ignorance, of unknowing, of the veiled reality, and the wanderer through the night becomes the child of the sun, uh, our sun, or whatever sun it may be on the way of higher evolution, and eventually the Pleiades, and enters within the portal of that radiant orb. So here is the, what can we call, stellarization of the human pilgrim. I mean, the monad is like a sun, but we are speaking of a starry destination. One of the cosmic logoi, and probably a particular chakra within a cosmic logos, is the destination of each monad, and eventually, as far as we are concerned or can know anything about, the Pleiades themselves is the path, represents that in which the path ends. So we have here where the path leads, and from inconspicuous insignificance all the way to a blaze of glory. Let's, excuse me, let's take it again. Seek not, O twice blessed one, to attain the spiritual essence before the mind absorbs. Not thus is wisdom sought. Only he who has the mind in leash and sees the world as in a mirror can be safely trusted with the inner sense. Only he who knows the five senses to be but illusion, and that naught remains save the two ahead, can be admitted to the secret of the cruciform transposed. The path that is trodden by the server is the path of fire that passes through the heart. It is not on the path of pleasure, nor on the path of pain, that liberation may be taken or that wisdom comes. It is by the transcendence of the two, by the blending of pain with pleasure, that the goal is reached, that goal that lies ahead, like a point of light seen in the darkness of a winter's night. That point of light may call to mind the tiny candle in some attic drear, but as the path that leads to that light is trodden, through the blending of the pairs of opposites, that pinpoint cold and flickering grows with steady radiance till the warm light of some blazing lamp comes to the mind of the wanderer by the way. Pass on, O pilgrim, just don't stop at the soul. Pass on, O pilgrim, with steady perseverance. No candlelight is there, nor earth lamp fed with oil. Ever the radiance grows till the path ends within a blaze of glory, and the wanderer through the night becomes the child of the sun, and enters within the portal of that radiant orb. It's very beautiful. It's full of promise, and it shows that when we tread the path of integration, unification, synthesis, we reach our goal, which is a stellar goal, as part of a chakra system of a great being we call the one about whom naught may be said. Well, we have many goals, and they are sooner or later in time and space. The destiny of the monad is quite remarkable, and the sense of moving forward all the time should descend upon us, and if it does, we will be energized by the possibilities and exhilarated by our participation in our local cosmic sphere and eventually beyond. So, read it how you like, meditate on it, find your own associations, but we do know that the path ends in a blaze of glory and not in some limited, rather materialistically reflecting state, and not in a state which reflects the physical plane, not in some fatuous heaven or paradise, but really ends in a great stellar demonstration, a blaze of glory, and eventually within the Pleiades themselves. Probably each path ends in one of the 7 or 9 Pleiades. I always feel, there's more to say and deeper to go, but one cannot do that. One has to leave some things unexplained or perhaps poorly explained or simply indicated. That's what one must do under these circumstances. Now, here's a beautiful one. It's called the Cup of Karma. There is a cup held to the lips of those who drink by 4 great lords of karma. The draught within the cup must all be drained, down to the nethermost drop ere it is possible to fill the cup with a purer, sweeter one. The 7 lords of cosmic love await the hour of filling. The cup is naught. The draught within distills forth, drop by drop. It will not all be drained until the final hour wherein the pilgrim takes the cup. He lifts it from the hands of those who, bending, hold it to his lips. Until that day the cup is held, and in inner blind dismay the pilgrim drinks. After that hour he lifts his head. He sees the light beyond. He takes the cup and with a radiant joy drains to the very dregs. The contents of the cup are changed. The bitter now becomes the sweet. The fiery essence then is lost in cool, life-giving streams. The fire absorbed within has burned and scarred and seared. The draught now taken smooths the burns. It heals the scars and permeates the whole. The 4 bend down and see the work. They release the cup of karma. The tender lords of cosmic love then mix another draught, and when the cup is empty seen, emptied by conscious will, they pour within that which is needed now for broader, larger living. Until the cup has once been used, filled and drained and seen as naught, it cannot safely hold within that which is later given. But when to utter emptiness the pilgrim drains the cup, then to the world in torment now he turns. With cup in hand, drained once, filled again, and refused to selfish need, he tends the need of struggling men who tread the way with him. The draught of love, of sacred fire, of cool, health-giving streams he lifts, not towards himself, but holds it forth to others. Upon the road of weary man he becomes a lord of power, power gained through work accomplished, power reached through conscious will. Through the cup of karma drained, he gains the right to serve. Look on, O pilgrim, to the goal. See shining far ahead the glory that envelops and the light that naught can dim. Seize on the cup and swiftly drain, delay not for the pain. The empty cup, the steady hand, the firm and strong endeavor, lead to a moment's agony and thence to radiant life. Ah, how very beautiful that is, and predicting for us the way which inevitably lies ahead for each of us. Well, let us analyze this a little. This is the cup of karma. It is held in a certain configuration which is appropriate to the individual who has generated it. The cup holds all that must be redeemed, and circumstances guided by inner intelligence of the four great lords of karma direct the individual towards the facing of the karma, the draining of the cup. Of course, it has to be taken, interestingly, within, and there it undergoes, or it causes a great transmutation. There's no evading it. One can evade it, but it will be presented and re-presented. Every cause has its effect, and every effect must be faced. That's the meaning of the draught within the cup must all be drained. Everything we have generated of a positive or negative nature must be faced. It's not only the negative here. Down to the nethermost drop, we are the creator and responsible for everything we have created. We, the creator, are responsible for all that we have created. Before, ere it is possible to fill the cup with a purer, sweeter liquid, so we are promised some beauty or some wonderful draught ahead, if we will face the pain. And we all have to face it. It's just a question of how deliberately we do this, whether we are somehow forced to do it or do it consciously. The conscious approach is the right approach. And of course, this draining of the cup is that which we find at the time of the fourth initiation in a conclusive manner. The seven lords of cosmic love await the hour of filling, so it seems the Ray Lords, or let's call them the Planetary Ray Lords, are those who provide the sweeter draught. So the four lords of karma, well, these fours are always appearing, and these can be, I think, the particularly the Shamballic Lords of karma. There are also four Maharajas in the solar system, but they are operating on a solar systemic level, and I think not on the level of the tiny human being. At the fourth degree, we're having a much more direct connection with our monad, and hence with Shamballa. So these four lords of karma are, in my opinion, are intra-planetary. Of course, they have trodden the path of absolute sonship and know the cosmic mathematics. How would I say this? Path of absolute sonship? Path of absolute sonship. And I think I just have to have that. Absolute sonship. Path of absolute sonship. It's easier in the long run to have these abbreviations. Path of absolute sonship. The seventh path. And they have the cosmic what's there? POAS. So anyway, they have the cosmic mathematics to know exactly what should be brought together in this cup in order to make possible the complete redemption of the entire life process over the millions and millions of years. The cup is not, it's just a container. Whoop. Let me just get that straight. It's almost like the body or the vehicle. A container, a body or vehicle, nothing real, but holds the memory of that which must be redeemed. It will be thrown away, of course, at the fourth initiation when the karma has been expiated. The cup will be thrown away at the fourth initiation when the karma is expiated. In a way, the cup is the personality and the chalice is the causal body. We don't have anything really negative in the causal body, but there's much in the memory of the permanent atoms of the personality which demands redemption. The draught within distills forth drop by drop. It's all that has been, all lack of completion and success, all that leads, that has led to disharmony and has worked against the divine plan. But within may be the good as well, and the good karma often delays release, strange as it may seem. It will not be drained until the final hour wherein the pilgrim takes the cup, again at the fourth initiation. He lifts it from the hands of those who bending, let's just say working redemptively on a much lower level than they truly occupy. Because they are high beings, redemptively. Okay. So he lifts it from the hands. I mean, there's no evasion. You know, you are confronted with this. There's no escape, nor should there be escape, because it is a privilege to pass through the fourth initiation, DK tells us. Before that privilege is ours, we have to have eradicated the glamour and approach clear-sightedly and not emotionally. Until that day, the cup is held, and no evasion is possible. And in inner blind dismay, the pilgrim drinks. This relates to the negative and dire karma which he must face. Can lead to the loss of life and to the loss of everything, or the loss of life in form and to the loss of everything, the apparent loss. Inner blind dismay. He knows not where it will lead. It is inner, and he is helpless in a way. He knows not. He is helpless and does not know whither, is this it? Whither the drinking will lead. Have I spelled it correctly? Whither. I'm just going to pretend that that is correct. After that hour, he lifts his head and sees the light beyond. So drinking to the dregs, brings revelation. Another way of saying, and we've been saying it all along, that renunciation, where are we? Renunciation leads to revelation. He takes the cup and with radiant joy drains to the very dregs. Okay, so now it's not after he drinks, but it's just as he's about to drink that he sees the vision. He sees the vision just as he is about to drink, and drinking, revelation comes. So he knows where it leads, and that gives him courage. Courage is given to drain the cup to the very dregs, because the vision is so real of the revelation to come that he is willing, with courage, to drain the cup to the very bottom. And, think of Socrates. This was very literal. He is given the cup of the poison, hemlock, and is forced to drink, but he does so willingly. Who knows what he, a very spiritual man, saw before the drinking. Okay. Well, this is the example. I think the Socratic poisoning through hemlock is a great literal example of draining the cup to the very dregs, and the jailer followed him, and the life gradually went out of him, rising towards the head, in the classical method of dying that DK discusses. And with the drinking, the contents of the cup are changed through the 7 streams or lords of love, the great beings. What are they? What are they? They are the 7 lords of cosmic love. They are the 7 Ray Lords. I think we have to call them that. The 7 Ray Lords. Okay. So now the content is changed. Now this lies before all of us, so we might as well get used to the process and the dynamics of the process, which make it possible to approach in a direct and courageous manner. The contents of the cup are changed. The bitter now becomes the sweet. The fiery essence then is lost in cool, life-giving streams. The fire absorbed from the original cup, absorbed within, has burned and scarred and seared. The draught now taken, it's sort of a metaphysical draught, soothes the burns, it heals the scars, and permeates the whole. So there is a second and compensating absorption of that which the 7 lords of love have provided. May the day, when that day comes, may we think back and realize what the Tibetan has told us. Every one of the masters has drained this cup to the very dregs, and perhaps there are higher analogies as the planetary logoi move through their process and have to do this in terms of their cosmic karma and the solar logoi and so forth. The 4 who are most merciful, They're bending down, you know. Let's see, bending down far below their, capital T, their station, and see the work, because it is work to do this. We are faced with an inescapable situation that requires our utmost concentration and work. They release the cup of karma. Does it fall to the ground? Does it disappear? Or perhaps this is a repetition in another way of what's happening. The tender lords of cosmic love. Now they are tender, exacting first and tender now. Exacting first and tender now. Then mix another draft, each one perhaps contributing his particular blessed content. Mix another draft, and when the cup is empty seen, emptied by the conscious will, not forced, but chosen, is the first drink. They pour within that which is needed now for broader, larger living, expansion of power and consciousness is the result of the draft mixed and poured by the lords of love. Expansion. Okay. Until the cup has once been used, filled, drained, and seen as naught. Let's see, the lower vehicles are naught in comparison with the high energies now engaged. It cannot safely hold within that which is later given. So this cup, the energies and the various circumstances through which one has passed, and the accomplishments and all that, good and bad, are used, and the four lords fill the cup with that distillation which will make redemption of the past possible. It is consciously drained and really seen as unimportant compared with the higher possibilities. After that, the cup can hold that which is later given by the lords. So all of this has to do with the first draining of the cup. In other words, we have to pass through the bitter in order to realize that which is sweet. All of the kinds of tastes are needed by each other, and in this case, the sweet follows the courage to face and drain the bitter. I mean, we really haven't any idea, I suppose, of all we have gone through and all we have generated over thousands of lives, but the distillation is brought to us by the exacting cosmic mathematicians and presented to us, and nothing is left which would leave unredeemed any past circumstance. But when to utter emptiness the pilgrim drains the cup, then to the world in torment now he turns. So his courage makes him, well, let's see what's happening here. Okay, that's not what I want. I want the view, one page, and I want a bigger page. Okay. But when to utter emptiness the pilgrim drains the cup, then to the world in torment now he turns. He has deep compassion and can serve still more selflessly. having renounced all that stands in the way of full service. With the cup in hand, drained once, filled again, and refused a selfish need. This is good. He does not use the fresh and potent energies selfishly. He tends the need of struggling men who tread the way with him. He's like the Savior who goes to the mountain blue and then comes down, and to those who are still involved in the games, and he signals to them their higher possibilities. The draught of love, of sacred fire, of cool, health-giving streams, he lifts not towards himself, but holds it forth to others. This is very important, because it's not a selfish procedure to be given that higher draft by the Lords of Love. It, let's just say, the life-giving draft means for him an enhancement of his service. So, passing through the bitter, we are equipped better to serve the Master. Having passed through this, is eminently equipped to serve far more effectively than before he passed through the pain. I guess karma has a way of catching up with everybody, and the way the great mathematicians arrange it, dealing with the karma becomes kind of a planetary event which signals to watching humanity greater possibilities. When you think of the death of Lincoln, you know, the war was won, and he was assassinated shortly after that, and that assassination made him, in a way, an immortal myth figure in the minds of Americans and across the world. It may, unless that had been staged, probably his reputation, his effectiveness would not have been equal to what they now are. So the Lords of Karma stage this drinking of the cup in such a way as to elevate all of humanity. Upon the road of weary man, we're told that that old figure, tired and sad, called the personality, is there, you know, with its permanent atoms having gone through so much. So we are a figure, tired and sad in our personality nature. Upon the road of weary man, he becomes a lord of power, whatever his ray, because he has the higher powers that the new draft has conferred upon him, these higher powers. Power gained through work accomplished, power reached through conscious will. All of this is passing through the fourth degree, is conscious and deliberate. Through the cup of karma drained, he gains the right to serve, and to serve in a much higher way. Excuse my cough here. Look on, O pilgrim, to the goal. See shining far ahead the glory that envelops, and the light that naught can dim. And, you know, to look on and see the light, to look forward and see the light, maybe capital, is a great encouragement, raising our courage so we can perform that which we might otherwise shrink from. And then these bold words, seize on the cup and swiftly drain, delay not for the pain, the empty cup, the steady hand, with no fear, not shaking, not trembling, purposeful hand with no trembling, unafraid, strengthened by the vision, the firm and strong endeavor, lead to a moment's agony, and thence to radiant life. DK tells us about dying, dying suddenly, how one experiences this as a impending sense of peril, an electric shock, and that's it. So if we believe these things, then we will be in a better position to pass through this experience firmly and without fear, and as an example to others. When people die well, there's something that really holds out to others, some upliftment, some encouraging example that they can imitate. So, what I've been doing is, because these are poetic, I've been rereading them, and I will do so as well. The Cup of Karma. There is a cup held to the lips of those who drink by 4 great lords of karma. Now, by the way, I just have to say this deals also with Trishna, or as it's called, thirst. We have been thirsty as human beings, and the thirst for the ordinary things must come to an end. There have been many drinks along the way, and this is, in a way, a final draught. There is a cup held to the lips of those who drink by 4 great lords of karma, intra-planetary, I would say. I have to stop elaborating. There is a cup held to the lips of those who drink by 4 great lords of karma. The draught within the cup must all be drained down to the nethermost drop, ere it is possible to fill the cup with a purer, sweeter one. The 7 lords of cosmic love await the hour of filling. The cup is naught. The draught within distills forth drop by drop. It will not all be drained until the final hour wherein the pilgrim takes the cup. He lifts it from the hand of those who, bending, hold it to his lips. Notice the singular hand. Until that day the cup is held, and in inner blind dismay the pilgrim drinks. After that hour he lifts his head and sees the light beyond. He takes the cup and with a radiant joy drains to the very dregs. He finishes, right? He finishes the draught. Sorry for the elaboration. He takes the cup and with radiant joy drains to the very dregs. The content of the cup are changed. The bitter now becomes the sweet. The fiery essence then is lost in cool, life-giving streams. The fire absorbed, which has burned and scarred and seared. The fire absorbed within has burned and scarred and seared. The draught now taken soothes the burns. It heals the scars and permeates the whole. The 4 bend down and see the work. They release the cup of karma. The tender lords of cosmic love then mix another draught, and when the cup is empty seen, emptied by the conscious will, they pour within that which is needed now for broader, larger living. Until the cup has once been used, filled, drained, and seen as naught, it cannot safely hold within that which is later given. What would we have here? We would have the misuse of high energies for selfish purposes. And that is avoided by the courageous facing of that which is painful. But when to utter emptiness the pilgrim drains the cup, then to the world in torment now he turns. With cup in hand, drained once, filled again, and refused to selfish needs, he attends the needs of struggling men who tread the way with him. He holds the higher energies for them. The draught of love, of sacred fire, of cool, health-giving streams he lifts, not towards himself, but holds it forth to others. The cup has different uses. Upon the road of weary man, he becomes a lord of power. Power gained through work accomplished, power reached through conscious will. Through the cup of karma drained, he gains the right to serve. Look on, O pilgrim, to the goal. See shining far ahead the glory that envelops and the light that naught can dim. Seize on the cup and swiftly drain. Delay not for the pain. The empty cup, the steady hand, the firm and strong endeavor lead to a moment's agony and thence to radiant life. It's very beautiful, very inspiring, and for those who have to pass through that, which is a great privilege, we are told, bound to be encouraging, conferring courage. These are very beautiful stanzas, and as I say, I just suggest certain things based on what occurs to me, and there's more, and there's deeper, and maybe you will find that more and deeper useful, which will be useful to you. The next one is called The Listening Pilgrim. Let's read it first and then analyze and then read it again. Remember the pilgrim, the monad in extension. Listen, O pilgrim, to the chanting of the word by the great Deva Lords. And the Deva Lords are the Raja Deva Lords, and they are found on the high plains, the cosmic ethers. They are also found on the lower subplanes of the cosmic physical plane, Kashiti, etheric physical, Varuna, astral, Agni, mental, Indra, in the cosmic ethers, Buddhic, what could I be? I guess Brahma, in the atomic plane, and Surya, or Vishnu, and then Shiva on the first plane. So they are providing the circumstances, but first just to read. Listen, O pilgrim, to the chanting of the word by the great Deva Lords. Hush all earth vibration. Still the restless strivings of lower mind, and with ear intent hark to the sounds that rise to the throne of the Logos. Only the pure in heart can hear, only the gentle can respond. The stormy sounds of all earth struggle, the shrill vibration of the watery sphere, the crashing note making the place of thought, marking the place of thought, dims the sound and shuts out the tone. He who is silent, quiet, and calm within, who sees all by means of light divine, and is not led by light reflected within the threefold spheres, is he who will shortly hear. From out the environing ether will strike a note upon his ear, unlike the tones that sound within the world terrestrial. Listen, O pilgrim, for when the sound strikes in colorful vibration upon the inner sense, know that a point has been achieved marking a great transition. Watch then, O pilgrim, for the coming of that hour when, with purified endeavor mount nearer to that sound. Know when its tone steals through the misty dawn, or in the mellow sunlight strikes soft upon the ear, that soon the inner hearing will become expanded feeling and will give place to sight and perfect comprehension. Know when the music of the spheres comes to you note by note, in misty dawn or sunny noon, at cool of eve, or sounding through the deep of night, that in the rhythmic tone lies secret revelation. Gosh, almost hate to say anything. Very beautiful, really. Let's see how many more of these we have. We have quite a bit more. But we will persist. Listen, O pilgrim, the monad, in extension to the chanting of the word, a great word, and we're reminded of the A, the AU, the AUM by the great Deva Lords. Maybe it's Shiva who sounds the A, and Surya Vishnu the AU, and Brahma the AUM, and then the many combinations sounded by Indra, Agni, and Varuna, and Kashiti, and so forth. So they provide the environment in which the pilgrim expresses. Hush all earth vibration, and what is that? Maybe let's say the lower 18 subplanes, or even the lower 21 subplanes. Still the restless strivings of lower mind, which is obscurative and not anywhere near as revelatory as the intuition. And with inner ear intent, hearken to the sounds that rise to the throne of the Logos. They rise to where the A is sounded, to the logoic plane. Only the pure in heart can hear. Only the gentle can respond. Those who desire only the higher things and are not attached to earth by low desire and its how about spelling, and its importunities. So quiet as in the light of the soul, as in the Yoga Sutras, is required to reflect the higher energies, to hear the higher energies. Comprehension of the four sounds we're told about, and what else? I think what I have to do is go here, open, and here, and here, and here. Comprehension of the four sounds, and here. And we go along 1, 2. This from a compendium which Keith Bailey made, comprehension of the four sounds, and then eventually beatitude, to which we must listen with full heart, the pronouncement of the Christ upon the mountain top of Atma. Of course, higher and higher are the cities of the Atmic plane, and some of them totally unknown to us. But comprehension of the four sounds, hearing is found on the seventh plane, and beatitude. On the Atmic plane, the note logoic begins to sound within a man's consciousness. So it's almost to the monad, and liberation will come into the monad. Logoic plane. All right. The stormy sounds, contending energies of all Earth's struggle, the non-harmonious energies raging below. So this is on the etheric physical plane, on the etheric plane and physical plane. The shrill vibration of the watery sphere, the discordant astral sphere filled with desire, which has very little to do with the divine plan. The crashing note marking the place of thought, the discordance of illusion, dims the sound and shuts out the tone from on high, or the tone rising to the place of the planetary logos. But he who is silent, quiet, and calm within, who sees all by means of light divine from the monadic sphere, because divinity has to do with the monadic and logoic planes. At first the monadic sphere, then the logoic sphere, and is not led by light reflected within the threefold spheres. So above is the sun, and below on the lower subplanes is the moon, which reflects the light of the superior sun. So if we do not attend to the lower reflected light, but seek the source of light, we will be among those who will shortly hear. But it requires silence, quiet, calm, patience. So all around us are the contending, struggling, contradictory, non-harmonic energies, all kinds of discordant notes. Every sphere produces its, every lower sphere is producing its discordant notes. The etheric physical, the astral, the mental, all of this has to be brought to beauty. All must be brought to harmonious beauty. And all of this confusion and these discordant vibrations shut out the higher tones, shut out the tone that will ascend, shut out the tone that is descending from above. But if we are led into the divine light and interpret things in terms of the divine light, which really is the light of the monad, we will shortly hear, and maybe to some extent the light of the soul, because there is that within the soul which is of the monad when we look at the jewel in the lotus. From out the environing ether, maybe the lower ethers will strike a note upon his ear, unlike the tones that sound within the world terrestrial. Now, the environing ethers, I think, are the lower ethers. Are the lower ethers, not the cosmic ethers. Because it's the ear. We want to hear here below in our normal world of functioning on the physical plane. Listen, O pilgrim, for when that sound strikes, here's the union of color and sound, in colorful vibration upon the inner sense, and maybe the esoteric sense. Okay. Know that a point has been achieved, marking a great transition. We're looking here at a lower correspondence to prismatic identification. I wonder if I can find here in a treatise on cosmic fire the word prismatic. It has to do with the work of the on the path of becoming a planetary logos. Prismatic identification. It is difficult to express in words the method employed by a master as he enters this cosmic path. It has been called the method of prismatic identification, for it concerns the color veils which shroud spiritual energy. And another method, another mode of expressing the same truth is to say that it is a method of understanding the song of life. Ah, so beautiful. Let me finish reading it then. As the stars sing together, I suppose we're hearing the music of the spheres, and the chant of the gods peals forth in the great choir of heavens, it produces a corresponding color symphony. People who have this synesthesia, you know, they can see sound and hear color. They are particularly adept at seeing the union of sound and color. This particular mode of identification enables the adept to act as a director in the chorus and to produce the needed color effects and chords. When he can do this to perfection, he is then in a position to take up office as a planetary logos. More it is not permitted to say, and the above is but a symbolic way of expressing a basic and difficult truth. Oh, there are so many beautiful things that lie ahead, you know, and the prism, as far as that goes, the cross here, the cross of colored light on this third path, it's the symbol. A radiant cross of colored light has the long limb formed of the 7 colors of the solar spectrum, and the transverse limb is composed of 12 gradations of colors as yet unknown to man, and one would think of it as related to the 12 signs of the zodiac, plus the indigo star. And behind it all, a blazing sun of warm, dark blue. The STANZA characters depicted in gold. Amazing, amazing. The Jupiter scheme will receive those who are in initial training for this path and coming from our planetary logos. Okay, it's inspiring every time one thinks of it, you know. Watch then, O pilgrim. Watch then, O pilgrim. Correspondence, lower correspondence. No, dense. Correspondence. Watch then, O pilgrim, for the coming of that hour, when the, what should we say, the light from above is breaking upon the inner ear. Listen, O pilgrim, for when the sound strikes in colorful vibration, we cannot separate color from sound. Upon the inner sense, a great transition is marked. Watch then, O pilgrim, for the coming of that hour. With purified endeavor, mount nearer to that sound, the sound of the monad, and beyond. Know that when its tone steals through the misty dawn or in the mellow sunlight, strikes soft upon its ear, it's always detectable, regardless of variation in circumstance, that soon the inner hearing will become expanded feeling. That's an interesting occult hint, and will give place to sight and perfect comprehension. So what do we have? Inner hearing, expanded feeling, and then sight and perfect comprehension. And it makes sense, because hearing relates to the seventh, feeling to the sixth, and sight to the fifth subplanes. So there is a progression there. We're going to become more and more aware of these inner possibilities, always. The inner sensitivity grows. Know then, know when the music of the spheres comes to you, note by note, and as it says elsewhere, chord by chord, chord on chord. In the misty dawn or sunny noon, circumstances make no difference. At the cool of eve or sounding through the deep night, anywhere on the cross of the day, the music comes at any time on the cross of the day, that in their rhythmic tone lies secret revelation. Kind of reminds one of the daily ritual of Sanat Kumara, where the waves of color and sound are breaking upon the shores of the three worlds. So probably there's so much about what our planetary logos is doing that is expressed in color and sound. Sounds like this is to a degree true of every planetary logos, because they are working through prismatic identification, every one of them, and they do become conductors of the cosmic choir, you know, as it is said. So the musical factor is very strong in every planetary logos. Well, just a little start. We could meditate here on every sentence. Listen, O pilgrim, to the chanting of the word by the great Deva Lords, both of the cosmic etheric plane and of the cosmic dense planes. Listen, O pilgrim, to the chanting of the word of creation by the great Deva Lords. Hush, all earth vibration. Still the restless strivings of lower mind, and with ear intent hark to the sounds that rise to the throne of the Logos. Only the pure in heart can hear. Only the gentle can respond. It reminds one of the singing of the angels around the throne, right? The seraphim, the cherubim, singing around the throne of God, glory to God in the highest. The stormy sounds of all earth struggle, the shrill vibration of the watery sphere, the crashing note marking the place of thought, dims the sound and shuts out the tone. he who is silent, quiet, and calm within, who sees all by means of light divine, and is not led by light reflected within the threefold spheres, is he who will shortly hear. From out the environing ether will strike a note upon his ear, unlike the tones that sound within the world terrestrial. We have many discriminations to make. Listen, O pilgrim, for when that sound strikes in colorful vibration upon the inner sense, know that a point has been achieved, marking a great transition. Watch then, O pilgrim, for the coming of that hour, when with purified endeavor mount nearer to the sound. Know, when its tone steals through the misty dawn, or in the mellow sunlight strikes soft upon the ear, that soon the inner hearing will become expanded feeling and will give place to sight and perfect comprehension. I think we have to make that noticeable. Know when the music of the spheres comes to you, note by note, in misty dawn or sunny noon, at cool of eve or sounding through the deep of night, that in their rhythmic tone lies secret revelation. And again, tone is singular because the music of the spheres has blended in harmony, and the chord that they make is considered the tone. There are so many secrets that have to do with the universe as music, and I think, Master KH is in the position as the former Pythagoras to teach them, and may we accordingly learn. Okay. And here is an esoteric fragment. Let's at least do this one. An esoteric fragment. Where is the gate, O Lanu, which guards the triple way? Within the sacred heart of him who is the threefold path. I reach the gate, pass within, entering thus the heart, through the means of wide compassion. How many gates are there, O passer on the way? The gates are 7, each leading to the center of a great sphere of bliss. By the one who seeks to know, the first gate must be found, that entered in periodic cycles. He will find the other 6. You speak of wide compassion as the key that opens wide the gates. Explain in words the simplest the need that this involves. The need of gentle mercy, which knows and sees yet understands the need of tears of crystal to wash away a brother's sins, the need of fiery courage that can hold a brother's hand and lift and elevate him, though all the world cry nay, the need of comprehension that has experienced and knows. The occult sense of oneness must guide into the gate. What else will lead a man to the portal of the path? Compassion first, and conscious oneness, then death to every form that holds and hides the life. Next, wisdom linked with learning, and the wise use of the word, speech of an occult nature, and the silence of the center, held in the noise of all the world. Can you, O Lanu, blend these thoughts into a threefold chain? charge. First, oneness, then the word, and lastly, growth. Seems pregnant with revelation. So let's see what few things might be said about it to get us going. The Lando, of course, is the sincere disciple, the true Chela. Where's the gate, O Lando, which guards the triple way? Well, what is this triple way? There is a sevenfold way. When we think of triplicities, we think of the three major centers. And on the highest plane, there will be 3 and not 7. I'll show you what I mean. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, here it is. On the logoic plane, 3 major centers, Father, Son, Holy Ghost, and on the monadic plane, 7 major centers. So the way to the 3 possibly, or the way that involves the first 3 rays, or the highest 3 centers, head, heart, and throat, according to the major monadic ray of the individual. And man is threefold, you know. He has the will, he has the love, he has the intelligence. He can use all 3. The way of will, love, and intelligence. The way to the highest 3 on the logoic plane. And there is a gate, keeper of the gate, Sagittarius, keeper of the gate. Where is the gate? How do we reach these high states? How do we reach them? Within the sacred heart of Him who is the threefold path. Sounds like the soul nature of the planetary logos, or Sanat Kumara. And within our own sacred heart, what is our sacred heart? Well, there is the heart center, but there's also the soul, which is the heart, and the monad is a heart as well. And it is the monad who is going to tread this higher path. So there is a heart of the great Lord, and we must tread the way through that heart and leave our planet eventually. I reach the gate and pass within, entering thus the heart of the solar logos of the planetary logos is on the second subplane. Entering thus the heart through the means of wide compassion. So this is a fundamental, wide compassion, a fundamental for treading this path. Every gate separates what is before the gate from what is behind. It stops, it admits. Gates both inhibit passage and allow passage, stopping and admitting. How many gates are there, O passer on the way, and what is this way? The way of higher evolution, I suppose. The gates, at least initially, are 7. We have now 9, apparently, each leading to the center of a great sphere of bliss. That is a star, which is the end of the path, and each star being the expression of a Solar Logos is a sphere of bliss. By the one who seeks to know, the first gate must be found, so make your own choice, free choice, which will lead to the way of higher evolution that entered in periodical cycles. He will find the other six, and this has to with the transferring from path to path. Maybe not all paths are trodden, but there certainly are paths which lead, for instance, to Sirius, to the ray path, to the path of the solar logoi. You know, there are different ways of transferring from path to path, and perhaps that is what this means. He will not spend time equally on the other six, but he may find them. The liberated monad may find these other paths and at least know whither they lead. You speak of wide compassion as the key that opens wide the gates. Remember, we've been told the initiate of the 9th degree ninth initiation is filled with great love. So the higher we go and the more we are aware of planetary purpose, which in this solar system has to do with the expression of the love of the second ray soul of our planetary logos, the more love we have. So compassion in the heart, in the monad, wide compassion, and let's call it this, the growing identification with all beings. It opens the gates. Explain in words the simplest the need that this involves. Well, the need of gentle mercy, which knows and sees, yet understands. It is the ray of loving understanding. It is loving understanding. The need of tears of crystal to wash away a brother's sins and not self-pitying. Oh, how to spell it. Tears, the need of fiery courage that can hold a brother's hand and lift and elevate him, though all the world cry nay. One finds the core of possible redemption, even in one who, even in the one who has done much evil. The need of comprehension that has experienced and knows. Once we say more associated with Shamballa, as we learn in meditation 4 of the 6 or 7 meditations the Tibetan left for us at the end. The occult sense of oneness must guide unto the gate. Synthesis, oneness, synthesis. Oneness, synthesis allows the treading of the way of higher evolution because it is the monad who treads it. And for the monad who is the one, all is one. What else will lead a man to the portal of the path? Seems like a very high path indeed. So here it's listed. Compassion first, and conscious oneness, not just being part of the one, but knowing it is so, identifying as that. Then death to every form that holds and hides the life, and this will be the great refusal of the ninth initiation. Next, wisdom linked with learning. Well, maybe first there comes the anticipation of the ninth initiation, and much later, this will be the great refusal. Next, wisdom linked with learning. So maybe we're still here in the realm of the soul. Speech of an occult nature, and the silence of the center, held in the noise of all the world. The center of the soul, and more the center of pure being, the monad. The silence, and let's just say that in silence lies the synthesis. Can you, Olanu, blend these thoughts into a threefold charge? A charge is that which instructs a person what they must do and gives them the energy to do it, confers energy to do it. First oneness, then the word, and lastly growth. What can we say about this? The threefold nature, threefold inspiration from monad to soul to personality, which grows in the world of becoming. BCMG, becoming. So, we're entering the world of the monad. The world of the soul is known, and we identify in that consciousness. And what must grow in manifestation does grow. Can we say that being grows? Being does not grow per se, but we grow towards the possibility of realizing being. Well, many are the possibilities here, friends. But obviously we are treading a very high path in this esoteric fragment, and we're going beyond the usual possibilities. So let us read this and see what as a whole it suggests to us, having studied the possibilities a little. The triple way, Father, Son, Holy Ghost. The three on the logoic plane are the Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. The 1, 2, and 3, the three subsidiary logoi to the solar logos, as we see on some of the maps. And I think a little bit later over here we see it. Yeah, here it is. These three. Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. Or we have the same on a planetary level, but where there are three here, there may well be 6, plus the central one making 7. The numerology of these higher states, we have to keep I have to keep in mind. So let me then read this so we get the general effect. Where is the gate, O Lanu, which guards the triple way? Within the sacred heart of him who is the threefold path. I reach the gate and pass within, entering thus the heart through the means of wide compassion. How many gates are there, O passer on the way? The gates are 7, each leading to the center of a great sphere of bliss. And by the one who seeks to know, the first gate must be found. That entered in periodic cycles, he will find the other 6. You speak of wide compassion as the key that opens wide the gates. Explain in words the simplest the need that this involves. The need of gentle mercy, which knows and sees yet understands. The need of tears of crystal to wash away a brother's sins. The need of fiery courage that can hold a brother's hand and lift and elevate him though all the world cry nay. You know, the Aldanza to Dulcinea transition, the transition from negativity to great positivity in all cases, often storied as it's very uplifting. The need of comprehension that has experienced and knows. The occult sense of oneness must guide unto the gate to higher life. What else will lead a man to the portal of the path? Compassion first, and conscious oneness. Then death to every form that holds and hides the life. Next, wisdom linked with learning, the wise use of the word, and the wise use of the word, speech of an occult nature, and the silence of the center, held in the noise of all the world. Can you, O Lanu, blend these thoughts into a threefold charge? First oneness, then the word, and lastly growth. Wow. Okay. So this will be then the end of Ray's Initiation Webinar Commentary number 106 and page 755 to 765. And our day is the 19th of December. And we'll be beginning of Ray's Initiations Webinar Commentary number 107 from page 765. We'll see when we can get to that. I'd like to get to it as soon as possible, but there are many mundane things to be taken care of. I would love to finish this right now. It's not really finishing at all, but what it is some initial suggestions that may help us study occultly these matters, and possibly in the future of the new schools where we may be found, study these matters. Okay, friends, thank you, and we'll be working together as we continue to attempt to understand what the Tibetan has written and relate it to those life events which need the application of what he has given. Many blessings. See you before long.